So, hi, Geoffrey. Thanks for joining me today. What I wanted to ask you and introduce you, I think a lot of people sort of know you, but for those people out there that don't know you, especially in Australia, where I'm from, do you want to talk about what's been your tea journey and how and why did you get into blogging? Oh,
That is not the most appropriate of stories, but I'll try to keep it family friendly. When I was when I was in my late 20s, I was really worried about men's health and men's health issues and all that entails. I won't go into any further detail. And I started looking into. I was in my 20s, so you can understand that I kind of fell for all the hooey looey BS out there, and I started looking up like different supplements that could help with certain issues and whatnot. And I noticed that a lot of these things that were in vitamin supplements that had like a giant X label in them and whatnot, they all had green tea extract as being a primary ingredient. And so I decided, well, I really don't want to pay $30 for a bottle of something that I don't understand. How would I just drink this stuff? And so I consulted with a friend of mine who was Persian, and she says, yeah, you could drink green tea. I guess it wouldn't hurt. And so I started drinking green tea, starting with Moroccan mint and then working off to other things. I started off with bag teas like anybody else, eventually worked my way to loose leaf teas through Baihao Yinjian. That was my first loose leaf tea that I was absolutely like, oh yeah, now that's the stuff. And then I completely forgot about the dude bro reason I got into tea in the first place, and then went down the rabbit hole even further. Didn't start liking black teas until I had my first Norelia Ceylon back in 2009. And then from there, I started digging more into single garden stuff and whatnot. Didn't start actually reviewing teas until 2008. And I didn't start my blog until 2011.
So why did you start blogging? Do you enjoy writing?
I kept a personal blog that occasionally alluded to tea, but didn't deal with tea specifically. I started that in 2008, but I kept tea kind of separate from that because I didn't think anybody would be interested. And then a couple who were starting their own blogging network, the Tea Trade Network, invited me to be a part of it. And that kind of got me started on blogging. And at first it started off as kind of a review-centric thing, and I didn't actually find my voice into actually going into the stories behind teas, tea gardens, and vendors until probably, I'd say, around 2012, 2013.
Social media is all about stylized and looking like perfect families, perfect lives. But the one thing I have noticed with you, Geoffrey, is that you like to keep it real. Don't you? So are you happy with your profile out there about really keeping it real? And what's the best and worst parts of being a blogger?
The best part about being a blogger is that the only person that you're beholden to is your own schedule and your own critiques. The worst part about being the blogger is there really isn't any money in blogging, and it really is the worst possible gateway you could take if you're looking to get involved with the tea industry on a professional level. I remember having a conversation with somebody recently who were using blogging as a platform in which to find some way to nudge themselves into the tea industry, and I held back because they had to discover this for themselves. I was just like, it's not the way it works. Turn back now, because if anything, I mean, even though a lot of vendors and garden owners and tea professionals value the advice and input of bloggers. Some bloggers, not all. They don't exactly want them in the industry. I've found. And those that have been able to nudge themselves in usually have a way of being able to market themselves as something other than a blogger and transcend that label.
Because I have noticed there are some bloggers out there that are very lightweight in their reviews, if that's a way to put it, and it doesn't give a lot of educational or knowledge value to the reader, but that's not the case with you. You give a lot of background to the tea farmers and...
Well, I didn't start off that way. I mean, when I started doing tea reviews on another site, teaviews.com, I was pretty lightweight as well. I didn't start nerding out over gardens, processes, processors, factories, and all that stuff until probably well into 2010, 2011. Because at the time I was just focused on just learning the different regions. So everybody has to start off somewhere, and everybody has a rookie phase. But as to whether they stay in that phase or not is completely up to them. I know several people that basically ended their snobby exploration at Earl Grey and basically says, "Okay, this is my line. This is where I'm going to remain because I found what I liked." I have a friend of mine that I got onto loose leaf tea, and we're just going to call that a victory. But his flavor profile, his chosen flavor profile is Earl Grey, and he has never wanted to go past that. It was like, this is my barrier.
Well, actually, that's a good lead into the next question because you go live on Instagram on what are you drinking, by the way? We should let people know what you're consuming there.
I didn't exactly plan to be drinking anything, but I figured, why not?
Exactly.
Go for a little bit of ambiance. I'm drinking a small garden Darjeeling. It's from a garden outside of a village called Mandalgaon, and I got this through a vendor friend of mine from Boulder, Colorado, who is the general manager of a coffee shop called Trident Booksellers and Cafe, and he sourced this from an outfit called Tea Leaf Theory, who works with small gardens to helping them get a viable product out there, and we're talking small gardens, like maybe no more than 5 to 7 acres, and this was sent my way, and I've been enjoying it. It's not officially considered a Darjeeling because it's not recognized by the Tea Board of India. But it has a lot of the profile, palladial profile stuff that Darjeelings have. The muscatel thing, the spicy thing, and a little bit of an added smoky thing that just makes it say, no,
so that's Peter, isn't it? Yeah, he's a good guy. Well, yes. I'm actually, I'm enjoying a Nepalese black tea, Golden Tips from Jenny Dodds. Yeah, have you tried any of her teas?
Oh, really? Yeah. I don't think I have. I've meant to, but the only Nepalese teas that I've been having lately are through the Nepali Tea Traders group. And I've written a lot about Nepali teas over the last 4 or 5 years, to the point where I was even featured in an article and somebody called me the savior of Nepal.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, not exactly a title you want to bestow upon a nerdy white dude in Oregon.
But look, I have to say, I tried teas from Nepal about 6 years ago, and they didn't rock my world at all. But these ones recently, because Jenny came over to Australia and she was a guest speaker at the Australian Cultural Tea Seminar over here, and she talked about tea and art, and it was really interesting what she talked about. Cool. But she also introduced us to some really nice Nepalese teas, and I have to say they're coming along quite nicely, I think.
Oh yeah, the strongest region I think is pretty much all of Ilam, which I think is like the biggest tea region. They are produced. I mean, the default setting that they have is kind of mimicking what Darjeeling does, and Darjeeling processes only with a softer wither. But they've kind of taken that and then made a lot of variations on that. And I think their strongest products are the semi-oxidized teas and the white teas. And to feature or to highlight one garden in particular, Jun Chiabari I like quite a bit because they do a lot of different experimentations in processing.